welcome back. In this section, we are starting the first step of the SCORE certification study system, Scope the Exam. The first practical habit I want you to build is this. Before you study deeply, start with the exam blueprint. Many learners begin with a video course, a book, a practice exam, or a recommendation from someone online. Those resources can be helpful, but they are not the target. The exam blueprint is the target. The blueprint tells you what the exam is designed to measure. It usually shows domains, objectives, skills, question types, and sometimes domain weights. If you skip this step, you can spend too much time on low-value topics and not enough time on the areas that matter most. In this lecture, we will look at how to use the blueprint as a practical study map. Think of the exam blueprint as your study map. When you travel somewhere unfamiliar, you do not just start driving in a random direction. You first look at the destination and the route. Certification study works the same way. The blueprint helps you see what the exam expects you to know and do. This is especially important for technical certifications because the possible amount of content can feel endless. A cloud exam may include compute, identity, networking, storage, monitoring, governance, cost, and security. A security exam may include threats, controls, incident response, architecture, and compliance. The blueprint keeps you from treating everything equally. It does not teach the content, but it tells you where the content must connect. When you open the official exam guide or exam objectives, do not skim it quickly and move on. Read it like a planning document. First, look for the exam domains. These are the major categories of the exam. Then look for domain weights if they are provided. If one domain is 30% of the exam and another is 10%, that should influence how you spend your time. Next, look for the skills measured. Pay attention to verbs like configure, design, troubleshoot, monitor, identify, compare, recommend, or implement. Those verbs matter because they tell you the type of thinking required. Also look for question types, exam duration, scoring information, and official resources. The goal is to understand not only what is on the exam, but how the exam expects you to think. One of the most useful parts of many exam blueprints is domain weighting. Domain weights help you avoid treating every topic as equal. If one exam domain represents 35% of the exam and another represents 10%, that does not mean you ignore the smaller domain. But it does mean your study time should reflect the exam emphasis. A high-weight domain should usually receive more study time, more practice questions, more review, and more confidence checks. At the same time, exam weight is not the only factor. You also need to consider your current confidence. The best study priorities usually come from combining both, what the exam says is important and where you personally need improvement. Once you identify the exam objectives, turn them into study questions. This is where the blueprint becomes active. Many exam guides list objectives as short phrases. Identify a storage option, configure access controls, monitor performance, design a resilient architecture, troubleshoot connectivity, or recommend a backup strategy. Do not leave those objectives as static text. Convert them into questions. If the objective says compare storage options, ask, when would I choose object storage, file storage, or block storage? If the objective says troubleshoot connectivity, ask, what would I check first if two services cannot communicate? This turns the exam blueprint into active recall and practice prompts instead of just a document you read once. A common mistake is studying random resources first and looking at the blueprint later. This usually happens with good intentions. You start with a popular course, jump to documentation, watch a few extra videos, try a practice test, and only later look closely at the exam objectives. The problem is that you may have spent weeks studying without a clear map. A better approach is to put the blueprint first. Use the blueprint to choose your resources. Use it to decide what to study this week. Use it to organize your notes. Use it to interpret practice test results. The blueprint should not be a document you open once. It should be a planning tool you return to throughout your preparation. Before moving to the next lecture, take one action. Download the official exam guide, exam objectives, or exam blueprint for the certification you are preparing for. If you already have it, open it again with a planning mindset. Mark the major domains. Highlight domain weights if they are provided. Circle action verbs like design, configure, troubleshoot, monitor, identify, compare, recommend, or implement. Then write down 3 things. First, which domain appears most important based on the exam guide? Second, which domain feels weakest for you personally? Third, which domain should receive your first focused study block? In the next lecture, we will build on this by creating a topic priority map. That wraps up this lesson. Before you move on, choose one action you can apply to your own certification study plan. If you want the full step-by-step system, check out my Udemy course, How to Study for IT Certifications. Use the course link in the description for the best price. The course walks through the SCORE system to help you study with more structure, practice, and confidence. Thanks for watching, and best wishes on your certification journey.